space between those two versions, that's perfectly fine by me. I have also been a student at the University of Southern Denmark a few years ago. I did my bachelor's degree in English and my master's degree in culture and communication, and I've been working within human resources and recruitment for how many years? 12 or 13 years for now. And the majority of that time I've been working with international recruitment. So everything I say today is based on my experience as a recruiter, my experience with talking to Danish recruiters and Danish companies, because I do tend to ask them, about the feedback and the tips whenever they've hired an international, because that's what I hope to be able to inspire you to do. And I've also talked to a lot of internationals and asking them, so what worked and what didn't work, and what were you surprised about? What were you not surprised about? Yeah, and I can tell you that today we're going to see an example of a video CV from a person who also did her master degree at the University of Southern Denmark. She participated in the similar workshop like this a few years ago, and she has agreed that we can see an example of what works. So I'm hoping when all of you go out and get a great job, that maybe you'll get me feedback or maybe Helena feedback, so that we can continue to build our pool of inspiration and know what works. All right, so I am going to see if I can show you some slides, of course. So this is what I'm going to talk about for the next few hours. Just very briefly about work in Denmark. Then I'll touch upon the Danish job market right now, especially in these times with coronavirus, to give you an idea of how things are. Then I'll focus on what Danish recruiters, both me and recruiters working in companies, what we expect when you apply for a job. I'll focus on the CV, the video CV, and the cover letter. And then I'll finish off with giving you some of the unwritten rules concerning going to an interview in Denmark. And that's going to be my focus today. And the idea is to give you some sort of idea of what Danish recruiters expect, so that you can make an informed decision of whether you want to meet that expectation or whether you would like to try something else. But you need to know what you're working against and what it is that goes on in the mind of the recruiter, so that you have that as your focus point. All right. So let me tell you about work in Denmark. We are, as Helena said, we are a public institution. We're a specialized unit or office. We're part of the Danish Ministry of Employment, and we were formed in 2008. So we've been doing this for quite some years. We're also part of a large European recruitment network called EURES, European Employment Services, which means that I have maybe around 1,000 colleagues around Europe that I can get information from if ever I need to recruit somebody. So work in Denmark, our main goal and everything we do is based on us helping Danish companies. We help Danish companies to attract and recruit highly qualified foreign candidates. So everything we do is based on that. We do also focus on assisting highly qualified international job seekers, just as yourselves, in finding a job in Denmark, simply because it helps the Danish companies. So the reason why I'm doing this today is, of course, because I would like to help you, but really it's because Danish companies need to be able to hire you, and they need to be able to understand your qualifications and backgrounds, and I hope to be able to tell you how you can communicate that to them. So work in Denmark, we do international recruitment, talent attraction. We have every information about relocation. We're part of the International Citizen Service, so we can guide persons and companies in relation to getting a work permit, a visa, CPR number, you name it, or all of all of the things concerning relocation we know about, and we do a lot of different courses and workshops. I'm just going to show you our website. You might want to use it. Maybe you don't want to, that's perfectly fine. But we have this website called Work in Denmark, and it's sort of one place where you can find every information, every piece of information you need, both as an international job seeker and also as a Danish company that wants to hire internationals. Like if you're an employer, you would find information under this space. I'm not going to show you that today. I'll just focus on a few things. So under this bracket, find a job, you'll find a lot of information about job search. We have e-learning programs where we also focus on Danish workplace culture, the use of LinkedIn, and everything is free of charge. Under this find a job, we also have short video tutorials. So they're a really good place to start when you're trying to find a job in Denmark. And if you think something that I maybe touched upon today, maybe you would like to get some more information, you're welcome to use our website here. I know I will also just right now recommend the information that the University of Southern Denmark has about job seeking for graduates. It's brilliant. So use that as well. Right. Now we have information about relocating to Denmark, what you need to be aware of if you're moving here, information about work life in Denmark and life in Denmark in general. Now, what you might want to focus on is that you can actually search for jobs in our job database. You can just either click here and you'll find around 1,000 jobs per day, sort of, or you can put in titles or keywords that you'd like to search to see if you can find a specific job. The jobs that we have on our website, they are jobs in Denmark that require English language, and they're both from private and public companies, primarily private companies. So this is sort of one place where you can find most of the jobs that would be interesting for you if you're not completely fluent in Danish yet and would like to see what those jobs are about. You can also register your CV in our CV bank if you want us or Danish recruiters and companies to be able to search you out. They will also use LinkedIn, so maybe you have a profile there, but that's an option for you too. Now, Work in Denmark, we attend a lot of job fairs. Right now, we attend them virtually. But if it's possible, we go physically and visit people or job fairs in order to attract internationals to Denmark. We actually have an online job fair coming up. It's called Make It Work in Denmark on March 18, and I suggest if you're interested at all, then join. You will be able to actually chat with Danish companies that are looking to hire internationals. And I know that if a company can choose somebody who's already living in Denmark because you're studying here, that would be perfection. So that's a really good opportunity for you and for Danish companies perhaps to meet you. So you're welcome to join there. It's free of charge, everything. All right, that's enough about our website and Work in Denmark. So this is a nice photo of our bridge. Apparently our marketing department thinks that we should show a lot of bridges and blue colors. There we go. All right, the Danish job market right now. So I've looked into the numbers and I've talked to the Danish Agency for Labour Market and Recruitment to get the newest numbers. Now, the turnover of jobs in Denmark is usually fairly high because people have a lot of security, because we have great unions and A-Kasse, unemployment benefit funds, which you'll also learn later on today. So people are willing to take risks and take new jobs. So we have a high turnover of jobs. Normally that number is between 800,000 and 900,000 each year. Now, the numbers from 2020, they're not official yet, but I spoke to a specialist from the Danish Agency for Labour Market and Recruitment, Henrik, and he said that the official number for 2020 will be around 700,000 jobs that changed hands, so to speak. So it's not too bad. Of course, a lot of jobs are non-existent right now, but there is a lot going on in the Danish job market and a lot of possibilities. Yesterday, I just did a search for graduate on Work in Denmark website, and I found 149 jobs where the word graduate appeared. On the website graduateland.com, I tried to search for Denmark full-time and English language, and I found more than 1,000 available jobs in very different categories. So there will be a lot of opportunities for you in Denmark. I can tell you that the number of job ads right now is the highest since 2008. This might come a bit of a surprise. Some of the it simply shows that there are many job opportunities, but it also shows that with this coronavirus, the opportunity to do networking and to meet people and thereby apply unsolicited because you play handball together or because you join another association and meet people in social interactions. That's where a lot of people get news about job openings. That's not going on right now. So I think that companies simply need to put up a lot of job ads in order to attract people, because not so many apply unsolicited or via network right now. So you'll find a lot of job openings. The unemployment rate right now is about 4.4%, which is a big increase for Denmark, but it's not too bad compared to other countries. So there's an increase in job availability within IT, finance, construction, healthcare, and research. And there's a decrease in jobs within biotech, sales, industrial production, and student jobs. So some opportunities have risen a lot and some have decreased, and that's just how it is right now. The people that are really experts in the labor market situation, they are expecting this to be better fairly quickly, because we are vaccinating against coronavirus all over the world. So we're expecting to be able to open up the world within a few months, really. So the expectation is that it's going to be better fairly quickly. So I hope this gives you an idea of the current Danish labor market and where you are right now and your possibility. I can tell you, when I graduated in 2005 from the university, the unemployment rate was higher than it is right now. So it's really not too bad. You'll get there. Okay, so right now I am going to tap into a recruiter's expectations and focus on what you might want to focus on when you apply for jobs. So let's start by just showing a video. This is Magdalena Saramba Andersen. She's a recruiter at a Danish company, Hese Hus. They're an IT company based here in Odense at the harbor. Yeah, they're actually looking for, I think they have 12 or 14 openings, job openings right now, and they're only about 126 people. So they're really growing and expanding a lot. What they do is that they produce web shop solutions for different companies. One of their largest customers is Matas, which I would assume that some of you would know. That's where you can buy your shampoo or makeup or something like that. All right, so let's just see. I'm just going to see if I can get this video to work.
Can you hear that?
Yes, I can. Can you make it big? Yeah.
First of all, research our company. Investigate our website, read the job description carefully, and see if you have the right skills and if our company culture appeals to you. When you apply, please remember to adapt your CV to the position in question. We tend to read the CV first, therefore it's crucial that you outline all the right technologies, all the relevant technologies, and state the level of them. I would recommend you to maybe have a short summary where you outline your core competences, your areas of responsibilities, and why you want to relocate to Denmark. In your cover letter, explain what motivates you regarding the position. Give us concrete examples how you would fulfill the role, and elaborate on how you are as a colleague.
So thank you for your help with that, Helena. So this is Magdalena and her view on how she would like to be approached by job seekers, which is she needs to see a CV and she would like to see a cover letter with your motivation for a job. That's basically it. And she is very, it's a good representation of what most recruiters expect. But let me just elaborate on it. So, a normal day in a recruiter's life. Well, let me start by saying that in Denmark, most recruiters are actually employed at a single company. In many other countries, it's the norm is that you would definitely not have recruiters hired in your own company. You would use recruitment agencies or headhunting agencies, and they would handle the full process. Whereas in Denmark, most recruiters, like Magdalena, is employed at the company, only recruiting for that specific company. If they use recruitment agencies, most of them will handle the initial process only, which means that they will perhaps do the first screening of candidates, maybe take a few tests, and then they would hand over the final steps of the recruitment process to the company themselves. So bear that in mind whenever you need to communicate to a recruiter. Think about, is this a recruiter that's working at the company where the job is, or is this a recruiter in a recruitment agency? What's their level of knowledge? So that you bear that in mind when you try to explain what it is you can do concerning a specific job. All right. That being said, a normal day in a recruiter's life who's working in a company means that they're usually responsible for a lot of different open vacancies at once. They have to handle about 50 to 300 applicants per job. They simply have to screen through and search through all of these applicants to see who might be a great match for us to hire. This also means that recruiters in general have about 30 seconds to screen your CV to see whether you match the job that they're looking for somebody to fill, or whether you don't. So that's what you have to look at. The first initial screening, maybe 30 seconds you have to convince a recruiter that you're a good match to a job. Recruiters generally read the CV first and then only read the cover letter for those who are actually invited for interviews. And recruiters have to do all of these things while they're picking up the phone. Maybe you have to ask them something about a concrete job. They have to talk to the hiring managers and let them know how it goes with recruitment. They have to do the testing of candidates. They have to do interviews, and they have to do a lot of other things. So recruiters are normally very, very busy. And they have to try to meet the demands of somebody who actually wants the top candidate for their team, like the hiring manager. So you might think, well, why is that important to me? Everybody is busy. All right, well, you're absolutely right. But if you can bear this in mind, and if you can help the recruiter to quickly focus on that you are a match to a job, then you might be invited for an interview. So think about this and know that recruiters, they simply expect to be, well, spoon fed. So if you can help the recruiter to easily understand what your role is, how you think that you match the role, both in terms of your professional skills, your experience, and your interests. And also, if you can try to couple your experience to the specific job function, then you've made life easy for the recruiter. It's easy for the recruiter then to say, this is a person whose CV has to go in the yes pile. I'm going to look further into this. You're not going to be rejected immediately. Recruiters do expect you to do your research concerning the company. Understand what they produce or what it is they're doing. Read through their full website. Follow them on LinkedIn. The recruiters, they are going to check whether you have followed them or not. You can always unfollow again if you're not interested. And if you have specific questions about the job, if you're not completely sure about it, or if you have any concerns about how you match a role, then they expect you to actually call before you apply for the job, so that you can make a CV and cover letter that actually matches what they're looking for. All right. So normally, yeah.
May I have a question?
I was actually okay. I was actually going to. Yes, of course, I'll let you have your question, and then for the later part, if we could just do them after I've done with the. I have a question mark, a session ready, but no, please ask your question now.
All right. Okay. Yes. So it's a two-part question. I guess I'll start with the simpler one. If I have tried calling hiring managers and really have had maybe like a 5% success rate of actually getting them on the phone or calling me back. Maybe I could always call more, but I mean, after 3 calls and messages, I think is that a good,
Yeah, they're not going to call you back.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's not, if you leave a message, you're going to say, I'll call you back tomorrow or later today. If you ask them to call you back, I would not expect them to actually do that. That would be a little bit impolite from your side. Not intentionally, of course, but yeah.
Oh, right.
Is it for larger companies?
Middle-sized to large companies, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so it will be difficult to get through to the larger and middle-sized companies. That definitely will be difficult. But if you have questions, I would definitely say that that just keep trying. I mean, I would probably not try more than 3 or 5 times as you've done. Then I would also, as you, give up and just apply.
All right. Thank you so much. And
was that?
My second question can come later.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. I'm sorry. I think we forgot to say that you're welcome to raise your hand, and then Helena will make note of who would like to ask questions. And then I'm going to take questions once I've done with the full CV. And then after the cover letter as well.
My apologies.
No worries.
My internet was off in the beginning, so sorry about that. And
no
thank you.
problem at all. No problem at all. And if you have an urgent question that really needs to be asked right now, you just go ahead. We'll figure it out. All right. So I'll move on. So this is sort of the titles or headlines that recruiters are looking for in a CV. You can decide to do like this, or you can do something different or add others or delete some. That's up to you. But this is just the norm, what we are looking for, what we expect to find in a CV. So it's the personal details. If you're non-EU, we expect you to include information if you have a work permit. The personal profile, we expect to see information about how your professional skills, but also why are you interested in moving to Denmark, and do you have any family that needs to go with you to Denmark? Education, because you're a graduate, we expect education before work experience. We would like to know when you expect to graduate or when you will finish your PhD. Work experience, we expect to have everything included, also student jobs, volunteer work, projects, everything that's relevant we expect to see here. Then we have a section with skills. So education, number 3, that's your main education. The skill set that includes language skills, IT, your mother tongue, other relevant skills. Also, if you do extra courses, like a 6 months course later on, then it would not be under education, it would be under skills. Then we expect to find something about you as a person, something about your interests, what you like to do when you're not working. And then we expect to find something about references, perhaps available upon request. Normally in these GDPR days, companies would use a human resource system where you would have to upload your CV and cover letter and perhaps other materials to a system. If you do that, please make sure that you have attachments as well. PDF files are the best because it's easy to upload and you can see what it's going to look like. The layout is not going to change, which might happen if you used Word, for instance, files. Smaller companies might ask you to apply via an email address. Now, what they mean then is that you, in the title of the email, you mention application for, and then mention the job title, job ID number, whatever. And then in the email address, in the email itself, you write, dear whoever it is, hiring manager, name of that person. I would like to apply for this and this job. Please find my CV and cover letter as attachments. And then you attach them to the email. It's usually not okay to write the application in the email itself. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into two aspects of the CV when you make a CV that's targeted towards a specific job, because those are the two main ones, main items that that will really tell whether you make it or break it in terms of getting to that job interview or getting in the pile that's not instantly rejected within 30 seconds. So I'm going to touch upon the personal profile, which is usually placed at the top of the CV. It's sort of either here or it can be next to your photo. And then I'm going to touch about the work experience, what we expect to find there. All of you will be able to get the slides. Helena has the slides and she's able to send them through to you, I think. Yeah, so you can see everything if you want. So let me touch upon the personal profile. Now in Denmark, we expect the personal profile to sort of be a snapshot of your core competences or a cocktail of your main skills. So we expect to find your main professional, personal, and social skills, all in relation to the job you're applying for. So if you match a job, this is where I expect to find you, that you would mention it. If you have a job ad, then you would most likely use the keywords from that job ad in your personal profile, because that makes it easy for me as a recruiter within seconds to recognize that you actually match what I'm looking for, because I've written the keywords and I would like to see that you actually understood that's what I'm looking for. So once you've done your personal profile, try to look at it and see, can a recruiter scan it and match you to a job within seconds? Maybe you can ask your roommate or somebody else to look at your personal profile. Give them max 30 seconds to read at it and then take it back and ask, so what could you read? Do you think I matched this job? And that should give you an idea of whether you've done it right or not. So this is actually a personal profile, an example of what I'm talking about, just to give you an idea of what it could be. So I'll just read out loud. So this is a person that writes, it's a graduate in the summer of 2021 with the title MBA and BA in engineering. So I have, first of all, I have the best selling point. This is an engineer. And then I know it's a he goes on to match the role of the job. Within the last years of my professional degree, I've been working in areas of supply chain and marketing. So I have the primary educational background and I have some sort of matching to the role. And then he goes on and explains how he matches some of the keywords from the job ad. I have gathered experience in organizing transport, business analysis, and analysis and process optimization through the use of world-class tools like Six Sigma. And then he ends up with some personal information. I am German and have visited Denmark on summer holidays since I was a child, and I've come to love the culture and wish to pursue a career in Denmark. You would probably write something about you have studied here for 2 years and have come to, love our culture or whatever you think is nice. So this is one example of what you could do, what I would expect as a recruiter. And I'm able to read this within maybe 10 seconds, and then I would expect to have your best matches to the job explained here in this personal profile. Just a summary, and then I can go through your full CV and your cover letter to find out, okay, how exactly does he match? But this just gives me a brief example of it. I'm just going to show you a personal profile that is used in other cultures, which is simply not used in Denmark. I'll read it out loud first. So the personal profile is to employ my knowledge and experience with the intention of securing a professional career with opportunity for challenges and career advancements while gaining knowledge of new skills and expertise. So in some cultures, this is what recruiters expect, because you need to show that you have aspirations. But to a Danish recruiter, this signals that you either have no relevant education or no relevant work experience, because if you had, you would have put them in your personal profile. This also signals maybe that you're not interested in the job and that you're applying for a job simply because maybe your A-kasse, unemployment benefit fund, or your job center told you to apply for 4 jobs a week or something. Then this is what a person would write, so that it simply to a Danish recruiter says, I'm not interested in the job, I don't want this job, but I have to apply. So if you plan to do a personal profile, I strongly suggest that you don't use this way. But it's up to you. You can always try it and see if it works. And then, yeah, see what happens. All right, I'm going to move on to work experience. So we expect the work experience and the CV in general to be short, but you have to include everything that's relevant so that I understand what you've been doing before. So think about that. Companies in your home country or in other countries might not be known in Denmark. So try to explain something about the company, maybe what they produce, if it's a big or a small company, and then explain, remember to include the location. Also think about the title, because the work title, well, it might not be the same all over the world. So try to explain your role. Try to include some of your daily tasks, your responsibilities, maybe who you worked with. Make me understand your role in the company. And then if you can, then include some results. If you cannot put any numbers, which is, of course, the easiest part, if you have any numbers, then try to explain what you achieved or what you're most proud of. That way that I can see something that you did in this job. I'll read through this example of a work experience. So we expect you to write when you started and when you finished. If you don't know yet when you finished, you can leave this blank. If you have a project job, like for 2 years, then you would write that here, and you would explain here that it was a 2-year project job or something like that. Then we say we need to know your title. So it's a global purchase and supply chain intern at Thermopack. This is a company in Hamburg, Germany. Now, this is an unpaid internship. If this is left blank, if it doesn't say anything about the job, then we expect it to be a full-time, normal paid job. As I said before, everything is work experience. So if you've been an intern, or if you've done volunteer work, or if you've done a part-time job, include it. Just make sure to mention it, what type of job it was. Now here he explains about the company. So Thermopack is a manufacturer of custom thermoform packaging, and it's ISO compliant. Just gives me an idea of what it is. So my tasks were development of a process for forecasting transport volumes and costs. And then he's included some results. The internship project resulted in my master thesis, providing the company with a new process for forecasting, which reduced the company's transport expenses by 10% per year. And then he's included some keywords, some Six Sigma tools and project management models. I have another example here. So this is from February 18 to June 18. It's a company in Poland, and it was a logistics company with 15 employees with customers mainly in the EU. And he said he was transport coordinator and forwarder. And he says here, it's a part-time student job. Tasks. My task involved customer relationship management and coordination of international road transport. So maybe this part-time job is not directly relevant to the job he's applying for now. Maybe this first job is more relevant. Therefore, this is more explained than this here. But again, we just need to know one sentence. What did you do? All right. That's actually it for the CV. I'm going to move on to the video CV. And Helena, I don't know if I
Sophie,
should take
I
questions
think there's
now.
just a few questions
Yes.
for this very first part, so maybe we can just include them.
Of course we can. I thought I could hear that, that they were clicking in. So now I'll do the video CV and then we'll have a break.
Yeah.
Yes.
So just a few questions. I know Kim Ann, you had one.
Yes. In regards to the profile summary, I guess it's kind of more just overcoming some cultural differences. But in mentioning, like, for example, a Danish boyfriend, I mean, I'm not used to admitting that.
I know.
Yeah. Or having, you know, a family.
Any
and
personal
2 kids.
information at all
Right.
is sort of striking. Yes.
And so that's common to write. I mean, I presume.
Do you want me to comment on that first, if I may? You don't have to. I mean, it's up to you if you want to. The reason why a lot of recruiters like this is because when we hire persons, I actually just yesterday talked to 2 different recruiters who said that they had just hired 2 people in. They were not the best qualified, but they had the best motivation and the best aspiration to really do good in the job. So the personality trait and the feeling of you really liking to be present and who you are as a person, it's crucial. We think in Denmark that if you're happy in a job and if you, the whole person, like you're not just your job, your whole package. And if you are happy at work and we like working with you and we know who you are as a whole, then you're going to produce more and earn more money for the company. Also, the fact that if you want to include anything about you having a husband, we expect if you're married and have children, it would be so odd if you haven't mentioned it somewhere. You don't have to mention it in the personal profile. It could also be under interest. That's why I usually state that I'm married to Bo and we have 2 children, aged, however old they are. But we do expect you to include that. Whether you want to include something about a boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance, or something like that, it's totally up to you. If you're an international, what we're looking for is, if I give you a job as a recruiter, will you leave if you get that great job offer from New York or Berlin in 2 months? Or will I expect you to actually stay in Denmark? So if you have any ties to Denmark, like a boyfriend or girlfriend who's also working in Denmark, please mention if they're also working, because if they are working and you get a job, both of you might actually stay in Denmark. So that's really why we want to hear whether you're a person we can like, whether we think you are interesting, and we would like to know whether you will actually stay in Denmark or whether you are ready to fly off when you get that great job offer in Hong Kong. Does that answer your question?
I think so, yes.
You're very welcome to do whatever you like. I mean, it's not going to give you a job or not give you a job, I think. It's just an extra tip to try to put in some of your personality and to show that you're not just all about your hardcore competences, but you're also a full person that we can actually like and interact with.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Sophie, there was just one more. What is your opinion or experience regarding CV web pages where you create your personal web page like myname.com?
I know. It's mainly used for marketing or other like more creative profiles. That's where we would actually expect you to have that, or at least have your portfolio online. I can tell you that some recruiters hate it because they don't want to spend that. They simply say, okay, I have 30 seconds to look at your CV. If I have to then click on something and open it and wait for it to, open up and then look at that, that's already going to take my 30 seconds. So your time is up. All right. Some recruiters love it because they're very visually oriented. So I would say, well, try it out, see what works. I mean, if it's for me, I would like people to simply ask me, to call me up and ask me, what do you prefer? And then I will definitely let you know what I prefer. So I hope that answers your question. If it works for you, then by all means do it. If you've tried it like 5 times and it doesn't work, you're not invited for an interview, then try something else. And then maybe also think if the recruiter that you're going to communicate with is under 30, maybe it's a great idea. If it's somebody like me I'm 44 years old, maybe I don't like that.
But you're still young at heart. You're still young at heart.
I'm still young at heart, yes.
But it gives the obvious next question about including the LinkedIn link. Will the recruiters use that one?
Yes. If you are invited for an interview, we expect you to have a LinkedIn profile, and we will we will look at it. Yes, we will definitely look at it. We will also look at your Facebook sites or profiles and Twitter profiles, everything you have, and you cannot see if we've looked at you. But we will expect you to have a LinkedIn profile. We also expect you to look at our profiles if you have our names. Yes.
Good. Thank you very much.
Were those the few questions for now?
I think they were the main. We have as a graduate, they will expect it to be the first thing to see. And then someone asked if they had the relevant work experience from Denmark, if they should then have work experience before. And we talked about that you could then include it in the personal profile, and then you would have it on the very top of your CV anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, brilliant.
So I think that was it.
Yes. So I'll just see if I can open this again. There we go. Really good questions. Okay, so moving on to the video CV. Oh, could I just ask, did anybody here try to use a video style CV? If you could just raise your hand if somebody did. All right, so it seems nobody has experience with this. It's becoming more and more used. And I'm just going to give you some of the advantages and disadvantages about the video CV. So right now in Denmark, it's mainly used if you want a job within digital communication, sales, marketing, PR, customer service, something like that. The video CV is mainly used to give an overview of who you are and what you can offer, and then to show your presentation skills. So you're sort of walking the talk. Instead of saying that I'm a great presenter or I'm really good at something, you're actually showing them how are you able to do presentations. The target or the aim of the video CV is to focus on your unique selling point to me as a recruiter, and it's to make me want to see your full CV. So you still have to make a full CV, and the video CV has to be fairly short. And then try to really look at your audience. So look at the recruiter. Will this video CV work for this specific company, for this specific recruiter? I've talked to a number of recruiters, and I've also looked at, I think I've looked at 50 different video CVs. For me, it's very, if it works, it has to, it can be really good, but it rarely is, I'm afraid. To me, it seems, it can spark an interest, and some recruiters say that they will, if they can get a video CV, they expect to look that and then simply use that for the actual screening, and then they're not going to look at your normal CV unless your video CV is really good, and then that will actually make them look further into your normal CV more than 30 seconds, because then that would be your way into the yes pile, so you're not instantly rejected. So it does work. So some of the practical tips that recruiters have asked me to share with you. Keep it short. 1 minute, maximum 2 minutes, no longer. Make a really good script so that when you do your video CV, you are being precise and you're not saying the same things twice or 3 times. This might come as a no-brainer to you, but this is what we're actually seeing a lot, that people just take a video and haven't really thought about what to say, and it doesn't come across as very professional. Make sure to include your contact details, like either an email address or phone number in the video. Otherwise, we have to spend time figuring out how to contact you. Try to talk clearly and slowly, and try to use natural lighting. Have somebody else look at what your video looks like and see whether it looks fairly natural. And then consider your background. It might not be a good idea to have a completely white wall behind you. It looks a little, it doesn't come across as nice. So try to think about how you can make a nice background, and maybe you can think about how you can do it in regards to this specific company. Like if it's Danfoss, maybe you want to stand in front of a what's it called? A heater. What is it called, Helena?
Radiator. I
Yes,
don't know.
right. A thermostat or something. That would be, make a good sense. Or if it's Linak, which is a company in the southern part of Denmark, they make these desks that can be raised and lowered again. Then probably you would have to have that in the background. Make sure to dress the part. So if you have a video CV, make sure that you would dress like if you were going for an interview. And then remember to use your arms and hands while you're presenting, and smile a lot. It simply comes across as better. And if you want to be a little extra something, try to have somebody else film you as you're walking. It simply shows, it brings some energy to your persona when you do that instead of just standing still. But try it out. So a lot of recruiters ask me to really give you these points of items to be careful about or be mindful of. The video CV could make you stand out for the wrong reasons. If you're shy in front of a camera, it's going to show. Maybe that's not for you. Also think about what I said before. Is it worth your time? The video CV, it takes a long time to make them. You have to film it and you have to edit it. Some recruiters, especially the older ones, I would say, would believe that this time that you've spent on doing the video CV could perhaps be used better in perfecting your cover letter and CV. One recruiter actually said to me, okay, I got this video CV. It was okay, but the CV itself, the paper CV that I had to see afterwards, it had spelling mistakes. And she was, she just said, well, that's not good enough. Do your work. Don't spend your time doing a video CV if you can't even, spend your time doing a real good CV. So that's just a tip. Make sure that you have investigated whether the recruiter likes to press something and show a video CV. Yeah, I already said the 30-second scans, should that be used to your video CV or not? So just bear that in mind. And then remember with the jokes and the humor, it varies a lot from culture to culture and from person to person. So be mindful of that. And then they all said that the most important thing is to show who you are, show your creativity, your intelligence and personality. Have fun. It shows off if you think it's fun, and that really pays off a lot. All right, so I actually have been permitted to give you the link for 2 video CVs. This is from Ida Maria Angelo. It's in Danish, this video CV. There's a link here. And you will have the slides. She actually got, I think it was 24 interview opportunities after publishing this video CV on LinkedIn, and she got 5 job offers to choose from. So it really paid off for her. It was in communication. Then we have Christian. That was he actually did a video CV for web designing and for print designing. So this is just another example of what you might consider doing because he's actually focusing only on his skills as a web designer. You never see an actual picture or image of Christian himself. So this is a different way of doing it. Now I'm going to show you this video CV from Christine Løber. She got the job that she applied for. She made this video CV for Arla, which is a dairy company in Denmark, and they export to all over the world. They make butter and milk and cheese and yogurts and things like that. She got the job as a finance specialist in a team that they call automation and AI. Her main role is as a project manager, and she translates supply chain business needs to IT regarding automation, so office robots, etc. And as I said, she actually did her master's from the University of Southern Denmark, and she participated in one of these previous webinar, or it must have been a workshop because I would have been at the university. And she actually said, if any of you have any questions about job seeking or what it's like to transit from being a student to getting a job, you're welcome to contact her via LinkedIn. I'm not allowed to share the video with you as such. We can only show it today. All right. So I'm going to focus on the opening, the middle, and the ending section of what recruiters normally expect. So the opening paragraph usually states something about that you've seen the job ad somewhere in mentioning that. And then you would include something about your motivation for the job or maybe try to spark the reader's interest. So regarding your motivation, in Denmark, I don't know if you've noticed, whenever we try to sell something, for instance, the Carlsberg beer, in Denmark, we would say that it's probably the best beer in the world. Now, this is a very typical example of, to a Danish person, this means that this is really, really a good beer. If Carlsberg were to say the best beer in the world, we would, in Denmark, we would see this as they're bragging. This is not true. I know that it's up to me to decide what I think is the best beer. They're overselling to me. I cannot trust them. I think this gives an image of, because in other cultures, for instance, France or the US, as a general point, of course, it's okay to be to say that this is going to be the best beer you have ever experienced, and you have to sort of and people can recognize that to see that well, of course they don't mean that, but they're saying that they're really good and this is a really good beer. Whereas in Denmark, if you say you're the best at something, we believe the total opposite. So when you describe your motivation, try to be honest about why you are excited about this specific job. Focus on your passion or your interest in specific tasks, and try to include how you can see yourself contribute to the company because you would love the job. So examples of how to open your cover letter could be, this vacancy caught my attention because I see a great deal of similarity between the job requirements and my experiences. Or if you can, tell a story. Some of you might be able to do this for specific companies. I grew up with Google. When I was 7 years old, I used to sneak down to my dad's office to play video games. I still remember opening the browser and seeing the bright multicolored letters above the search box. If you can do something similar like that, that's perfectly fine. The mid section, we expect you to explain to us how you match the job, and we expect you to place yourself in the job. Try to see things from the employer's perspective. You could consider to use subheadings or bullet points. so that it's easy for the employer or the recruiter to sort of scan down and see that you're actually trying to match the requirement. So here we expect you to answer the keywords from the job ad. So sometimes people will try to rephrase the keywords. If you want to do that, that's perfectly fine. Me as a recruiter, I prefer to have the same keywords used simply because that makes it easier for me to recognize that you're trying to tell me how you can do this specific keyword function. You can try and place yourself in the job by stating, by choosing me for this position, you stand to gain, and something like that. Try to avoid statements, for instance, I'm a great team worker. Instead, we expect you to explain how you're a team worker or what you like with working in teams, and to give an example. So try to end the cover letter on a positive note. So perhaps you can explain something about why Denmark. If you've already relocated to Denmark, you're here, maybe you can explain why you want to stay. If you have any ties to Denmark again, you could mention that here. Maybe you've met a recruiter at a webinar who made you realize that Denmark is your perfect option. Or maybe you've met a recruiter at a job fair or something like that. Tell your story. Why would you like to work here? And then try to end on a positive note, like I hope that my application and enclosed CV meet your interest and that you would like to see me for an in-depth interview. So that's sort of it. Remember to spoon feed the recruiter. Can we screen your personal profile in your CV? Does it contain obvious matches to the job? Have you used the keywords from the job ad? Did you explain your motivation for the job? And did you do a spell check? That's all I'm going to say about the cover letter. I know it's pretty short. I know that I haven't showed you concrete examples, and it's simply because they can be made in so many different ways. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions?
That popped one up. Should you mention skills acquired in former jobs and how they can be applied in the future job?
That's a really great idea. Yes, definitely. Because that way you're actually trying to place yourself in the job by explaining that you've done something in a previous job so that we can see that you are actually connecting to the new tasks. That's a brilliant idea. Yes. And it gives an example.
Can I add something?
Yes, of course.
But don't overdo it, because I have seen cover letters where it's like a love letter where you talk about all your ex-boyfriends or ex-girlfriends, and the new one doesn't want to know that much about the former relationship, but the experiences that you have gained and how you want to use them in the new one is perfectly fine to present.
That's a good point. Yes. Yeah.
Are there other questions for the cover letter, or were there leftovers for the CV part? Can I just go back to just one thing with the personal profile, or in general, if you use layout and you use titles, whether it's in the cover letter or in the CV, try to use the titles or the headlines useful. Instead of writing personal profile, you could actually use that headline to say skilled
engineer,
skilled engineer in AI, for example, or key marketing B2B, because then you have used one of the lines that will catch attention right away, because it is usually bold or underlined or some way stands out. And the same goes in the section of the cover letter. Some people prefer to use titles or headlines in the sections, then try to use them useful. There is a question from Mika.
Hi.
Hi.
So far, thank you for the presentation. Of course, I will keep joining the rest. But so far, this gave me so many different points. But before going into the other topic I want to talk about, maybe I will keep it for the very end of the whole presentation, but I do have a question about the cover letter. So I do have job experience between my bachelor and my master's degree. And the thing is, I do not necessarily apply for the jobs that I do before. What I did before was about more like customer support, customer service, customer experience, customer success that may vary. In Denmark, I saw many different titles for such jobs, but I don't plan to work on, necessarily do not plan to work on that area. Currently, I'm a graduate of global marketing and consumer culture, and today I'm joining this session as an SDU alumni. So my question would be, how do I turn this, like, this might sound not very pleasant for the employer, right? Because I started something and it seems like I gave up on it, which I didn't give up, but I had to work at that point, and that was the job I found. It wasn't my dream job at all, so I want to work in my dream job area now. So how do I formulate this to make it seem, yes, I gained some soft skills, like I've been in an office, I managed some jobs, I know how to coordinate tasks, I know how to prioritize, but now I want to use this effort in something else, like by saying it in a nice way. How would I do it?
Yeah, well, I can. I'm sure Helena has something to offer with us too. I can tell you that my first job after graduation was for a TV station, and I did some. It was a really boring job, and I stayed there for 1 year, and then I left. And what I did was that when I applied, I simply wrote that I had the best time at this TV station, and I really loved my job, but I also found out that my passion is within human resources, and that's why I'm applying for something else. So you're not saying anything bad about your previous experience. You're simply just saying that now I've figured out that my passion is this exact job that you are offering to me. And so maybe you could do that. Also, if you're going to work with, did you say marketing or global? Yes. Well, if you have been working with sales or customer service, that's a direct link to something that you will have to use in those jobs. So you can say that, well, in my experience with this and this, then I did a degree that made me further interested in this area that this job is about.
Yeah. Also, one more point. Actually, my initial, like, the reason I came to Denmark to study this particular program was to continue my academic career. But currently, I started looking for jobs in the job market because there are many reasons. I don't want to take anyone's time, but maybe I would like to do that. Actually, if you have time, like, we can have a one-to-one meeting. So I really desperately look for some tips and tricks to formulate my CV or my cover letter or my whole story in a better way. But the thing is, like, there is a gap in my CV.
Of course.
I graduated last June, like from this summer until now. I worked in an unqualified job until the lockdown came and everywhere closed. So how do I present, like, do I say it in a fancy way, like, I'm doing a sabbatical kind of, or would I be honest, or would I just say nothing, or what would I do?
Well, it's so normal. I in 2000, when I graduated in 2005, I think I was unemployed for 7 months, which was, and that was very normal. Nobody's going to question that you haven't had a job in that amount of time. Am I right, Helena?
Especially not in these Corona times. So you have an even better reason for being unemployed.
Excuse. The rest of us had no excuse. Yeah.
So no worries. And the whole thing about transfer your skill from one area to another, in the future we will change branches and jobs 10 times or 20 times, and some of them will be radical shifts. So we will have to transfer our skills and experiences into new areas. And don't worry, and Sophia and I have both tried to do 180 degrees changes. So the thing is how you communicate why you are still relevant for the position, because you can, and I won't say there are unqualified jobs. that doesn't exist. If you have worked, you have got qualifications, and these qualifications can be used in other types of jobs. It's your responsibility to show how you can use these experiences in another type of job, but everything qualifies for you as an employee.
I can also say that in my when I was unemployed there after graduation, I signed up to be a temp worker, and I did everything I could. So in my CV, what I did was that I simply wrote a paragraph with with these 6 months or 7 months, and I did different odd jobs as vikar temp. Such as office clerk at da da da, because then it shows that, well, I don't like sitting at home doing nothing. Maybe that's what you've done too. It's better to have something to do than to just stay at home applying for jobs all the time. And that's really positive. I tried to turn it into something positive, that I did unskilled work. Yes.
It can also be volunteer work.
Yes.
If you have done, or if you have immersed yourself into a project, if you have refurnished your whole house and done your own furnishment, perfect.
Done a podcast or something.
Whatever.
Yes.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you for your question. That was really, really good. Any other questions right now?
There was a thing about the transitioning into a new industry. Would phrasing like transferring my skills over be a strong enough statement to convince a recruiter? But again, I don't think you have to convince recruiters. You just have to show how you're going to use. But I think you agree with that one as well.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. All right.
Seems to be it for the moment.
Okay, then I'm going to move on to the job interview, and I'm really curious, after I've done the presentation, to hear whether anybody has some experiences so that they can agree with what I'm saying or not. That would be brilliant. So just very briefly, the typical steps of doing the interview process or the recruitment process in Denmark is that the first interview is via Skype. That also happened before Corona. It's getting more and more common, and most companies will actually continue to do the first interview via Skype or online. Then you'll be requested to do a test. Then you'll have a second interview with test feedback. If it's possible, they would invite you to go and meet them in person. And this is also where you will start to negotiate a salary. Then you will have a job contract offered. You will be shown a mobility plan, and then you will start working and get an onboarding plan. So those are the typical steps. So what might be interesting for you to know is what the recruiters in Denmark expect. So just a very brief introduction to the Danish setting. So Denmark is actually, as well, I know that all of you are in Denmark and you're living and you're studying here, but you're at a university. So I would imagine that some of you are living in that university world, which is filled with intercultural settings, and it might not be the same as if you're working somewhere else or if you're in other settings. So bear with me if you already understand all of this. But in Denmark, we have a culture built on high trust. So if you tell me that you've been working somewhere, or if you've had a specific result, I'm instantly going to trust you. I have no reason why not to. The first time I ever experienced that you've exaggerated or maybe told something that's not a direct lie, but maybe you've not told the full truth, that trust is broken, and it's almost impossible to get that back. So bear that in mind. We have a very low power of distance in Denmark, which you probably already have experienced, that our professors and teachers at university, we call them by first name. If you call somebody by their last name, it signals that you are old-fashioned or that you're angry. It's not very polite in Denmark. And we do also expect everybody to say what they have to say. So when you start a job, or if you're in a job interview setting, we expect you to feel like we're on equal terms, and we expect you to voice your opinion. So when you get a job, we expect you to disagree with the manager or with the CEO if you think that something is not right. Make an argument. The senior person will probably make a decision regardless of what you say, but they will take into consideration what you have to say. So you're expected to voice your opinion because we are equals as persons. But just bear in mind that even though we are equals, there is still a hierarchy in at the workplace in who decides and who gets to say what you have to do. You can voice your opinion, you can say that you don't agree, but still it's your manager that tells you what you need to do or not. Also remember that a manager in Denmark will probably never ever give you a direct order, say, do this job. They would instead ask you a question like, would it be possible for you to look at this before Friday? If you ever hear that, this is direct order from a Danish manager. So of course you say yes, and you only say no if you really can't make it, and then you would have to discuss what other things in your job you might not be able to do because you have to do this other thing. So Denmark is, well, we're a very team and equality oriented community. It's simply because our culture is still set on the fact that we were farmers not many years ago, and we have a farming culture. And this means that we all lived in very small rural societies where we had to be able to work together in teams to make things happen or to be successful and to survive. And this is something that still sets deep within us, that we help each other, and if we work together we will get a better result than if we try to just make our own path better. So we do expect you to participate in making the team stronger. And we love dialogue. We love that we are able to, all of us, have the same saying. So whenever you communicate, we expect you to say just as much as everybody else. If somebody takes the floor, like I know, I just did a workshop for Italy last week, and there we had the ambassador of Italy, the Italian ambassador in Denmark. He had to do a sort of an introduction talk, and then the what is it called, headmaster of the university, of a specific university, had to talk too. And in there they had to show their power or show their senior social setting by speaking more or less. We don't like that in Denmark. We think that you should speak whenever you have a need, and that it should be a balance. Yes. So some of the unwritten rules. We expect you to look at LinkedIn, look at our company LinkedIn sites. If you're going to go for an interview with me, I expect you to look at my LinkedIn profile too. Look at our website, look at the product. If I have, as a company, have a product that you can actually sell or see in a store, I expect you to have been visiting that store or shop and look at it. Now, the dress code. We expect you to dress up, to look smart. It's always better to be overdressed than underdressed. If you're in doubt, then try to look at what some of the staff on LinkedIn, what they look like. Maybe they have photos on their website to see what the dress code is like. Now, punctuality is really, really a big thing. I know you will experience that Danish people are late for meetings, but the mentality in our minds, Danes are punctual, and we think that non-Danes are not punctual. This is not the truth. This is just a stereotype. But don't buy into it. Be on time and make sure you're at the interview 10 minutes before the interview takes place. If it's online, then 5 minutes before. Make sure you don't buy into that stereotype, so we can shake it up a little bit. When you go for an interview in person, we expect you to give a firm handshake, short, firm handshake, both when you enter the room and says hello to everybody there, give a firm handshake to everybody present. Hello, my name is Sophie, nice to meet you, hello. When you finish with the job interview, we expect you to do the same again. Handshake with everybody present. Thank you. I look forward to meeting you. It's really nice meeting you. Have a nice day. So everybody present. We expect you to be honest, and we expect you to actually speak the truth. Try to do that. We expect you to, when we have this interview, that you are open-minded and that you're present, because we need you to focus on what's happening right now with us. What I usually do is that I have a piece of paper with me, then I take up from my past, and then I have written down the questions that I have prepared or anything that I would like to ask. When I'm then having the interview, I'm present and I'm attentive to whatever's being said, and I engage in a dialogue. If I then, the recruiter or somebody else in the room says something that I would like to ask about, I make a note on my piece of paper, and then I sort of don't have to remember my questions or anything else. I can be present and have a nice conversation. The most important thing at the interview is that if you've been invited for an interview, we think that you match with your skills. We need to see whether you are a person that we would like to work with. So the interview setting is all about finding out whether we like each other. Can we work together? Try to keep eye contact with everybody present and focus the attention on the person speaking, not the senior person or the manager. Focus your attention on the person speaking, but make eye contact with everybody. Now, at the setting, it's a really good idea to say yes if you're offered a cup of coffee or a glass of water or something else. It's simply part of creating this hygge or a great atmosphere. And it's part of you, me as a recruiter, I'm going to offer you myself actually, or I'm offering, do you like me? Would you like a cup of coffee? That's what it means. And if you say yes, then we like each other and you understand the cultural setting that's going on. You can say no if you don't like it, but you can just take the coffee and leave it in front of you. You don't have to drink it. It's just a matter of trying to bear in mind that you're saying yes to them. It's sort of an unwritten rule that we expect you to follow. I'm going to move on to the online interview tips now. So with the online interview tips, we expect you to have everything with the technique in order. So sounds from your computer or your phones should be switched off so that we are not interrupted while we're doing the interview online. We expect you to have a fully charged computer. We expect also that you have a good network connection so that we're not disturbed by your internet not working. So if you have somebody else in the household, ask them not to stream while you're doing the interview and maybe shut down your phone or something like that. And make sure your sound or microphone is okay. Maybe you can rehearse with a friend to see whether your sound is okay. Can they see you? Is it possible for, if you can, then try to see whether they can see your torso instead of just your face. That's a really good idea. Can you see my torso now, Helena? Yes, you're nodding. Good. Okay. Yeah, that was on purpose.
Part of it.
Part of it. Yes, you can see if I raise my hands, you can see that I'm trying to do something with my hands. Yes. Okay, then a really good tip is to dress like an actual interview. I have seen people who had to get up and get something to drink or a piece of paper that fell on the ground, and I could see their no pants situation going on, which was funny, but maybe it wasn't intentional to be funny. So try to dress as if you're at an actual interview. Yeah. and check your background. Now, if you can see my background, I don't know whether you can see, I don't have a great background. This is actually what not to do, because you can see a white wall and you can see a TV. Now, I've tried to place a flower to sort of make it look as if I've done something nice. So see whether you can have a nice background. If you place something like a coffee cup or something, we would read a lot into it. So consider that. Maybe you could put a prop in, something that signals that you understand the company. Recruiters will notice that. So smile, keep eye contact, look into the camera. If it's not possible for you to look into the camera because your computer is lowered or higher, then simply place books under your computer or something like that. Make sure that it looks as if you're looking into the camera. Yes, and test it with a friend. So I'm just going to, as a final touch, talk about some of the questions that you might meet. You can find these everywhere. The one thing that I find that internationals might be surprised about is the first one, where a recruiter might start the interview by saying welcome and explaining something about the company and who's present and thank you for coming. And then they will start, so tell me something about yourself. This question actually means that I would like to know how you think you met the job, and I need to know something about your personality. So this is something you could try to rehearse from home, just maybe a 1 or 2 minute talk about how you think that you have, mention the skills that brought you to this interview, and then tell them about yourself, your personality, maybe why you came to Denmark. Yeah. All right, that's actually it. I'm just going to mention. No, let's do some questions. No, you know what? Just, you're going to get the slides. If you want to know more, I said we had an online job fair on March 18. You're welcome to sign up if you want. We also have a newsletter in English with tips to job seekers. It goes out every once a month. For instance, that video with Magdalena, the recruiter from Hesehus, that was actually a video that we used for our newsletter, and we had a whole newsletter based on tips from recruiters. You can follow us on social media. You can watch some videos with expats who succeeded in finding a job and moved to Denmark. And I'm just going to mention our e-learning again. We have about LinkedIn, job search, how to contact companies, job interviews, and Danish workplace culture. That's it for me. I hope that you will use your international background as an asset when you apply for jobs. I hope you will consider to target your CV and cover letter, and consider what Danish companies expect from you as a job seeker, because then I'm fairly sure that you will be successful in finding that great job in Denmark. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Sophie. We just had some interesting questions. One of them, I was almost sure you would touch upon them, about the talk about salary.
Oh, yes.
How to go about it or not to go about it.
Will this talk about that? Not at all. No. Oh, yeah. Do you want to go, Helena? I, of course, have some thoughts about that, but
I know you have a very good point on it, so I think I'll leave it to you.
Okay, you leave it to me. All right. So the salary talk in Denmark, we expect you to figure out what you expect. So all of you, I presume, would be a member of a trade union or an AKAS, unemployment benefit fund, because it's, if I understand correctly, it's free of charge for students, isn't it? Yeah, I think so. So ask them before you go for interviews what you should expect. They can help you to understand what your expectations should be like. And the trade unions, they know companies all over Denmark, so they know what you can expect. And you can use that whenever you go into an interview setting. You can also find different online tools where you can try to find out your the level of your wage. Recruiters will ask you what your pay expectation would be, because if you expect to get between 50 and 60,000 Danish kroner per month, and the company has decided that this is a job where we are able to give maybe between 30 and 40,000, then there's not a match. Me as a company, I'm not able to give you that salary, and from that I will understand that you will never be happy in that job. So we might as well not continue with the discussion about you getting this job, because none of us are ever going to be happy. We can't meet your expectations. On the other hand, if we have decided this is a job that we would probably expect to pay maybe 40,000 Danish kroner per month, and you say, well, I expect 25,000 Danish kroner per month, we're gonna, be, questioning what's wrong. What did we miss? Why would we think that this person matches a job for 40,000 if she or he only asked for 25? What did we miss of information? Why does he or she feel that they're not qualified? So that's the setting. If you're not a member of a union or an A-kasse, which would not be the case here, but if you don't know this and you're international and you come to Denmark, you've never worked here, in my experience, it's okay to say, you know what, I'm new to Denmark, I've never worked here, I have no idea what to expect, but I'm sure that you will give me a fair offer. Some companies will not expect that. They will say, I need a number. And then you have to say something. That's what I have. Don't mention the salary until the company actually asks. And try to get the company to propose something instead of you saying something. If it's a public agency like what I'm working with, or like Helena's working with, we have everything is regulated. So we're going to be placed within a certain salary. We can't really do anything about it. But in private companies, you're supposed to negotiate. You can always remember to negotiate extra vacation time or extra pension funds or something like that. Do you have any other takes on it, Helena?
No, it's worth to remember that the salary is not the only part of the package. Yes. It can also be all the perks and benefits related to it, insurances. So you have to kind of look, and pensions. You have to look on the whole package in order to figure out. So your salary might seem a bit lower, but if your pension is higher, it will be the same outcome at the end of the day.
Yeah, for instance, in the public sector, we would usually get a pension that's between 15 to 20%, which is extra paid into a pension scheme fund. Whereas in the private sector, it might be a lot lower, and the company might pay as little as 2% or nothing. So it's part of your salary to take maybe 10 or 15% of your salary and put it into a pension fund. Yeah.
So you have to be aware. There are a few comments and questions. Yes. There's one from Rita. I have had a Corona interview done through Astronaut Q&A, and it was very awkward because you had to record yourself answering written questions, and there was no face-to-face interaction. Is this the future for companies, and how do we prepare for this? Sounds awful.
It is. I've heard that some of the younger companies use this. I've heard about this, and I've heard that recruiters, they don't really like it either. It's sort of a screening, and not many people are very good at it. But I've heard it. Yes, it's a way of making you say these answer these questions fairly quickly. I can't give you a great answer is to rehearse them, try to do different takes, have other people look at it, and then look at the setting and the background and the light, and that you look professional. It is awful. What can I say? And I think, yes, it's going to be the future. We'll get better at it.
But I think it will also differ from company to company.
Yes. Yeah.
Then Helena says, in my case, I have had what is your salary requirement in the first step already when uploading the CV and the cover letter.
Yes.
So it can come up very quickly.
It actually can, yes, and that's in order to, if you don't meet the requirements, they're not even going to ask you for the interview. Yeah.
Yeah. Then Kiman, I think you might have to help me out on this question. In combination of paragraph form, would a few bullet points in professional profile be useful since it's quicker for the recruiter to read, or is that just a personal preference? So I think it goes on how to put the personal profile form.
Yeah.
I think it's a personal preference, and I know some people, they love bullet points and some people hate bullet points.
You're not going to get an interview or not get an interview with the use of bullet points. So just do whatever you like.
Yeah. And then Rita has said, I have also seen that most of my Danish colleagues in my masters are much older. Will recruiters doubt my skills because I'm younger than what they expect?
Yeah, that's an issue. We in Denmark we do graduate at a very late in life, whereas internationals tend not to graduate earlier. What can we say? That is a surprise, yes. And people are going to ask, so did you just go to school all your life? Didn't you've never been traveling or did a sabbatical year? It's a bit odd because we do that a lot in Denmark. But if you just, I think it's a way of people might ask you whether this is the personality trait. Are you just a person who comes to work and works and we can't get a feeling of you? You haven't lived your life. So there it might be really important to write something about your personal interests and say, well, come on, you actually took a leap of faith by doing your degree in Denmark. I mean, that's a big step to move to another country to really experience life. So you can say, well, I didn't go traveling, no, but I actually did my master degree in a different country. That shows a lot.
And then we have two questions first from Rebecca and then Mygge. So Rebecca.
Yes, hi. So one thing I've seen a lot, both when I've been to job interviews and also sometimes companies, they write it, is that they are very happy when somebody asks questions to the interview. And I've always wondered, what is a very good question to ask? Because a lot of times I feel like they cover everything and I'm just no, I don't have any questions,
Well, I completely understand. What I do when I've been to interviews, I have this list of questions. I'm not going to show this list to anybody, so it could just be, nothing, like my grocery shopping or something. Then when I finish the interview, if I then think, this is going great, I think I got the job, they like me, I like them, we have a really positive ending here, then I would say, just one moment, I would scan through and then I would say, no, I don't have any further questions. I think you covered everything.
Oh, that's
good. Yeah. If I think, okay, it's not going well, that last question was not really good, I'm not sure that they like me, I'm a bit nervous, then I would say, yes, I actually do have a question. Just one moment, I would find out something to ask about to hopefully get the energy up again.
Okay.
So that's just my tip.
Yeah, but would you say that it's better maybe to ask about a question about the company or about the job you're applying for? If I had to ask one, for example.
Both. I mean, it's all about having that conversation going. So it could be, I usually would like to know who will I be working with. So I like to know what are the background of my teammates, who would I be working with, what have they been doing before. I would also like to know whether they are internationals or not, because I like to work in diverse cultures. So I like to work with different both females and males and young and old and different nationalities. So that's something I ask about. I would also like to know something about the management style of my direct manager. So these are some of the questions that I tend to ask. What about you, Helene?
I think if you are a bit nervous whether the interview was going well, you could also maybe, because people like to talk about themselves, so ask the recruiters, so what would be your best tip for me to succeed in this position, or something that makes them talk, or how was their entry into this world maybe? What was the best experience with that company?
You know what, that's a brilliant question, because if you get me talking as a recruiter about how I did something good, I'm thinking that you are very, very nice and we're having a good conversation even though I'm speaking. Brilliant. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah. Now, if you think that you've ended on a high note and this is going really well, but you do actually have a question that you think I really need to answer, you asked it, but you don't want to jeopardize this good connection we have, you can always ask the interview the day after or in the afternoon. You're always welcome to write an email or to call them up and ask that extra question. No problem at all.
Okay,
thank you. Now we have 2 minutes left because I know Sophia has another meeting.
And don't worry. Yes, okay, don't worry. But we have Lisa's, yes.
Yeah. So we have Mygge, you had a question, and then there was a few comments in the chat as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Mine is not necessarily actually like a question that much, but the thing is, like, first, well, it's a bit struggle that I recently had. Recently, I've been to 2 interviews. One of them was a phone interview, which made me super anxious because I like to communicate face to face, like a Skype interview or like whatever they are using as a video solution. In a phone interview, I was like, okay, I'm talking to like a wall, I'm doing gestures, but no one is seeing my energy. That was a problem for me. Of course, at the end, I couldn't get the job, but it was from maybe technical sides of the job. And another thing, this company is a Danish company, but works on an international level. And I emailed, I think, 2 times from now, like up until now, and I couldn't receive any feedback after the interview. Like, can you give me some feedback specifically on the position, or if you have any, tips or like suggestions, like like 3 positive things, 3 negative things from the interview we had, kind of. And it was a little bit heartbreaking for me because we talked like half an hour or more, but I couldn't get anything out of it. That was one thing. And the second interview I had, it was a phone interview again, but it was an unplanned one this time. Again, this is a Danish company. I was just sitting actually like talking to a friend about, she's also looking for a job, I'm also looking for a job. So we were having like a pep talk video chat with my friend. And I was like, well, wait a second, like my phone is ringing and it's a private number, like it's a hidden number. And I opened it up, like I picked it up and I was like, hello? And they said, we're calling from this. Do you have time now? I'm like,
yes, you have.
Yeah, I do. But then it was like, because I applied there like 2 weeks ago or so, so I was trying to also remember. So I directly opened up like, hang on a second, kind of, okay, this was this position. So I tried to come up with answers, but I get anxious again because I wasn't expecting this at all. Like, why didn't
it's very normal. Kind of. It's very normal.
Yeah, it wasn't normal for me, so I freaked out. And, yeah.
But it's okay if you say that really caught me by surprise. It's also okay to say, you know what, I'm actually in. Would it be possible for us to call back? Could we call in an hour? Or do you have time later? It's perfectly fine to ask that if you haven't scheduled it. No. But this happens a lot. Usually it's because they want to see how you act, on a surprise, to see whether they can actually communicate with you, to check your English maybe. Yeah. It's very normal. What was it? Yes, getting the feedback. Normally, we don't like to give feedback in writing. So if you write to me in an email wanting feedback, I'm only going to write positive things. I'm not going to give you anything that you can use because you can complain about what I'm writing. So if you want feedback, and I definitely think that a company, they should give you feedback if you've been for an interview, whether it's a phone interview or Skype interview or whatever. But usually you would get the feedback by speaking again. Yeah. So if you request feedback via email, it's sort of not what we expect, and it's seen very negatively by a company often. So I would recommend not to do that, but instead to ask whether we can get feedback if I can call you in, something like that.
Yeah, in my case, probably I was a little bit afraid to do it because the interview I got, not the hidden number, but the other one, the talent acquisition specialist, she is located in the UK. So
oh yes,
I don't know.
That's the UK, but that's a different. Yeah. A lot. Some larger companies like Lego use the UK-based yes, recruitment agencies. Yeah, they're not Danish at all, and they don't get that. So there you have to do sort of speaking to that English culture.
Yeah, that's why I was a little bit afraid of like, should I call the number, because I do have the number of this person, but it's a different. I mean, it's the same company culture, but still it's something else.
You could, you could try to call the original company and say, you know what, I had an interview with your recruiter and I'm not able to get feedback. Yeah. Is that really, because then the Danish company would probably ask the recruiter to give you some feedback. Yeah. Also, it might not be very positive. It could be a bit pushy.
I think we have to moving on because we have this waiting, and I just have 2 more things. So Kim, she says, so if an online application does require you to put a salary number, can I just write XXX or just ask just any random number, or just ask my union for a number? And
ask your union.
Yeah. And recommendation for question for the company, and I think this is a really good tip. I read the white papers from your company's website. What other resources do you read to keep up to date in the industry? So this is a good tip to bring on.
Ooh, yeah, good question.